Good day. This is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you for Reason to Resist from Montreal, Canada on July 19th, 2026. In response to the U.S. military's murderous attacks on Iran and Iranian civilians, Iran's military is wreaking havoc at U.S. military bases throughout the region of West Asia, and especially in Jordan. I'll share with you today powerful video, photographic, and satellite evidence of the devastation Iran's military is inflicting on these American bases and on key infrastructure in the Washington-backed Arab autocracies. But before we begin, please remember to like and share this video if you find it to be informative, and please become a subscriber to Reason to Resist if you are not already a subscriber. Help us, please, to expand the reach of our unapologetic, on-the-ground resistance journalism. Now, before I turn to Iran's ongoing demolition of U.S. military bases in West Asia, I want to update you on the crimes committed by the child-killing U.S. military in the Islamic Republic. This morning, Press TV published, this is the state broadcaster of Iran, published an update on the casualties in the country since the latest round of aggression began. And here you can see that the number of martyred persons in the recent U.S. terror aggression has risen to 57, and over 517 have been injured. And one of the more notorious atrocities carried out by the United States, not just in the last few days, but during the course of this war, is that it has struck and severely damaged this water desalination facility on the southern coast of Iran in an area called Jask. And you will be interested to know that this apparently provides drinking water to some 30 villages in the south of the country. According to Jask's parliamentary representative, whose name is Ibrahimi, the facilities are responsible for supplying water to the west of Jask, and this incident has caused a disruption in the water supply of approximately 30 villages in this area. Now, there is payback for this, and the recipient of that payback is thus far Kuwait, but I'm going to come back to that a little later. The U.S. terrorist forces have also destroyed or severely damaged several bridges in southern Iran, and here I'll show you a clip from an Iranian media report on one of the bridge strikes.
هستیم که ساعتی گذشته مورد حمله جنگنده‌های آمریکایی قرار گرفت. این دو پل مسیرهای دسترسی شمالی شهر بندر.
And there you can see behind the commentator that a quite severe blow has been delivered to that bridge. This would be heading, I believe, from the north of the country down into the Strait of Hormuz and the all-important Iranian port city of Bandar Abbas, where I was in March of this year. Now, in some cases, the Iranian military has been able to effect, or the Iranian civilian authorities, I should say, a workaround. Here is one instance where they used a dry riverbed to keep the traffic flowing after a bridge in the area had been taken out.
شهرستان رودا میره از دورای میناب به شهرستان رودا راههای جایگزین هم اون سمت که آماده شده این سمت هم تا ساعت دیگر آماده میشه شما شهروندان بتونن راحت عبور مرور انجام بدن تا که بتونیم پلو درست کنیم. این پل هم که سند جنایت آمریکا هم اینجا در حال تلاش که راه دومی هم درست کنن. راه اول هم که درست کردن ماشینا دارن.
Now, some of these bridge attacks have killed innocent civilians. There was a death toll of 7 citizens, Iranian citizens, including 2 students, when the murderous U.S. military attacked a bridge near or in Qamar City in Hormozgan province. Again, that's on the Strait. That province lies on the Strait of Hormuz. And the Iranian authorities published photographs of 2 of the victims. These are female students named Sogand Dadmand and Fatimah Akbari. They were martyred in the strike on the Khmer Bridge. Now, in related news, Sky News, of all media organizations, has published the results of a months-long investigation it says it has conducted into the mass murder of students and school teachers by the U.S. military at Minab in the south of Iran on the very first day of this war of aggression, February 28th of this year. And I'll just show you a summary here from Resistance Telegram channels of the Sky News report or investigation. They say, Sky News, that 3 missiles hit the school at 2:30 p.m. on February 28, 3 hours after the initial 11:22 strike. They were Tomahawks that hit the school. Targeting was designed to be as devastating as possible, precisely striking the very center of the school. The USS Spruance destroyer, part of the Lincoln Strike Group, fired the Tomahawks from the Arabian Sea, 716 kilometers from Minab. The commanders of that vessel should be, charged with war crimes and tried before The Hague for their murderous depravity. But continuing here, Iranian media had been reporting on the attack nearly an hour before the 2:30 p.m. U.S. follow-up attack. So this was, as we have reported, a double tap strike. So you hit it once, people show up, parents, emergency workers trying to save the victims of the first strike, and you end up killing and wounding the persons who have come to the site to save their loved ones or members of the community. Now, the U.S., according to Sky News, had ample evidence that the site was a school and no longer part of the neighboring military compound since at least 2015. I don't know what neighboring military compound they're talking about. The school sits on what was once a military compound, and it's absolutely crystal clear to anybody who even peruses the site that it is no longer a military compound. When they say neighboring military compound, Sky News seems to be suggesting there's something right next door, which is a military facility. Well, I walked around the site of the Minab school, and I didn't see anything that looked like a military facility, something that is actually currently being used for military purposes. And then lastly here, in the summary of the Sky News report, the Pentagon had access to even commercial-grade satellite data so detailed it could determine there were children in the school's courtyard based on the length of their shadows. Now, I published the results of Reason to Resist investigation back in March, about 4 weeks after this atrocity was committed. And that investigation resulted from my personal inspection of the entire site, along with Tim Anderson of Australia and Ahmed, the host of Propaganda & Co., who hails from the United States. We were the first foreign journalists to conduct a thorough investigation of the entire site, not just the actual school building, which was demolished, but several other buildings that were part of this former military compound and that were also destroyed or severely damaged. We went through all of that and to satisfy ourselves that there was no evidence that this site was being used for any military purpose. And we published that result back, that investigative report back in March, as I say. So I really am at a loss to understand why it took the Western corporate media so long to come to the conclusions that Sky News has reached. It was absolutely crystal clear to us then, as we explained in our report, that the United States military must have known that this site did not serve any military purpose and that it was a school for young children. If they can determine the whereabouts of the supreme leader and murder him and his family, as they did on that same day, then they could easily have ascertained that this was a school. And my belief is that they knew it was a school. They intended to murder those children. The message being sent to the Iranian people that if you do not capitulate, we will massacre your children. And why would anybody be surprised that the U.S. would behave this way after what we have witnessed in Gaza during the past nearly 3 years of genocide, the mass murder and torture and starvation of burning alive and crushing under the rubble of Palestinian children in the tens of thousands, much of it being done with U.S. munitions and U.S. protection. So really nobody should doubt for 1 second that the Trump regime and the leadership in the U.S. military are capable of such a thing. So in any case, I'm going to put a link to our Minab School investigative report in the description to this video. We have extensive footage of the site and also commentary from locals to back up our own findings. If you're interested in seeing how obvious it was that this was a school, meaning that very likely the U.S. intended to kill those children, you can watch our report from March of this year. Now, I want to just point out one other thing about the Minab school atrocity. Trump continues to get asked about this from time to time, and he doesn't accept any responsibility. He tries to cast doubt on whether the U.S. military actually destroyed the school. He blathers on about some investigation being ongoing. Why this investigation hasn't been concluded again, there's really no good reason for that. They've had plenty of time to determine what happened here. And he also seems to suggest in recent commentary that this is old news and therefore people should stop asking about it. I wonder if he'd say the same thing if, 4 months ago or 5 months ago, 168 American students and teachers had been wiped out in the destruction of a school on U.S. soil by some foreign enemy of the United States. Would he consider that to be old news and unworthy of further investigation and reporting by the media? We all know the answer to that question. Now, in light of all of this, it is with good reason that Iran's supreme leader continues to refer to the United States government as the Great Satan. The current supreme leader of Iran, Sayyid Mojtaba Khamenei, published a message within the past 24 hours. This was translated on Tasnim, the Iranian news agency, its Telegram channel. Today, the Great Satan has once again revealed its true unmasked face, so that this dark experience of criminality and broken promises may serve as yet another firm testament to America's dishonesty, irrationality, untrustworthiness, and wickedness. Now that the U.S. enemy seeks to fuel further war, bear even heavier costs, and suffer greater disgrace, it should know that the beloved Iranian nation and the resistance front have unforgettable lessons in store for it. The valor of the fighters of Islam and the courage and honor of the brave people of Iran's southern regions in recent days have provided examples of those lessons. And this type of language, I think, really drives home that the leadership of Iran, certainly the supreme leader, has absolutely no confidence in this treacherous and perfidious Trump regime. And that is going to spell real trouble for the prospects of any negotiated peace. Trump has proven himself to be a con man and a cheater so many times now in his direct dealings with Iran that I don't know how any Iranian leader in good conscience could return to the negotiating table unless and until the United States economy is screaming in pain and is literally on its knees. Until such time as the Iranian government and people have delivered grievous blows to the U.S. economy and military, and I don't think we're quite there yet, despite the extensive damage they've done, they've managed to do against all odds. Until that happens, there will not be, in my view, real deterrence established vis-a-vis the United States aggression. So I suspect that that is now the consensus view amongst the Iranian leadership, but time will tell. There is going to come a moment sometime in the next few days or weeks, maybe it'll take longer than that, when Trump is going to beg for a return to the table. And he'll try to do that, I believe, before the economic situation in the United States becomes completely dire. And I would hope that the leadership of Iran this time will not give the United States a respite until it has paid a sufficiently severe price to be deterred from attacking Iran again. Now, related to all of this, there was a formal acknowledgement by the Iranian leadership. This is the Deputy Foreign Minister, Mr. Garibabadi, stating to the media that Iran has suspended its commitments under the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding. The U.S. has violated and suspended all of its commitments. We have also suspended our commitments and not currently implementing them and are focused on defending the country. I find it interesting that this high-ranking official uses the word suspend. He didn't say terminate, he says suspend, which implies that under certain circumstances, the Iranian government might be willing to revive the MOU and to comply with its terms. Again, I would suggest that shouldn't happen unless and until the United States has paid a very severe price for its ongoing criminal aggression against Iran. You'll see also here at the bottom of this screenshot a quite ominous warning issued by an Iranian security official. Quote, if the U.S. attacks Iran's civilian infrastructure, Dubai and the Abu Dhabi airports, as well as the ports of Fujairah and Jebel Ali, must be evacuated immediately. This was reported by the Fars Iranian news agency. This is, of course, we're talking here about the major infrastructure of the United Arab Emirates, which, as I've said many times and explained, is little more than a Mossad operation masquerading as a country. Clearly, the Iranians are going to place the UAE at the top of its hit list if there are large-scale attacks on Iranian civilian infrastructure. Now, let's turn then to the Iranian retaliation for the latest round of aggression by the Trump regime. CENTCOM has just announced that several U.S. soldiers have been killed and gone missing or as a result of attacks on U.S. military facilities in Jordan. And here is the statement by CENTCOM issued, I believe it was July 17th, so that would have been 2 days ago. 2 U.S. service members in Jordan were killed in action as U.S. Central Command and partner forces defended against Iranian ballistic missile and drone attacks. Additionally, 1 service member is currently missing in action. Not to be crude about it, but I would suggest that the likely explanation for that is that missing service member has been obliterated by an Iranian ballistic missile. The statement goes on and says 4 American service members were medically evacuated to Jordanian hospitals. They have since been discharged. Other personnel who were evaluated for minor injuries have returned to duty. Out of respect for the family, CENTCOM will withhold additional information, including the identities of the fallen warriors, until 24 hours after the next of kin have been notified. Notice it doesn't state the statement at which of the many U.S. military bases in Jordan these deaths were sustained. Also, the claim that the assertion that these 4 medically evacuated soldiers were discharged within 48 hours, apparently, you shouldn't attach a lot of weight to that, because there has been reporting that the U.S. government was releasing severely injured soldiers from medical facilities. They were technically discharged, but they had not meaningfully returned to duty. They had been given some kind of assignment which didn't involve them engaging in any meaningful physical activity. And that enabled the U.S. government to claim with a straight face not only that they had been discharged, but they had been returned to duty. Now, I'm going to share more information on this in a few minutes. You'll see that there are very powerful reasons to doubt what we are being told by CENTCOM about this attack. Now, before I get into the subsequent revelations about the casualties sustained, I want to show you some video of this attack. This is a close-up video shot by a U.S. soldier at the base in question at the moment of the ballistic missile strikes. Now, I'm going to show you that again. You'll see, obviously, there were two ballistic missile strikes in this short video, which is only about 22 seconds long. And just focus on the first incoming. You can see that one actually coming down, and there is no apparent attempt to take it down. We can't see any interceptors in the sky, nor do we see any launches from air defense systems at ground level as the missile is incoming. So there's no evidence in this video that there was any attempt made to take down either of those two ballistic missiles. But one thing's for damn sure, if there were an attempt made, it was wholly unsuccessful. So watch again as the first missile comes down with no interceptors visible around it. Now, we don't know what happened to the soldier who shot that video, but given his apparent proximity or her apparent proximity to the blast site, it is entirely possible that that person has, at a bare minimum, sustained a traumatic brain injury. Certainly other soldiers, many, I would think, did sustain such injuries in this strike. Now, here's another video of an Iranian missile attack on soldiers' dormitories at the U.S. Muwafaq al-Salti Air Base in Jordan. Let's watch that again. That is quite a powerful explosion. You can imagine that strike alone would have caused very considerable casualties if there were military personnel in or near the dormitories that were struck. And here's yet more video showing two huge plumes of smoke rising from a U.S. base in Jordan. It doesn't look like those fires are going to be put out anytime soon. And we have even more video of the pounding that U.S. bases in Jordan are taking. Here's another one. Now, satellite imagery has emerged confirming that following Iran's attack on the American base in Jordan, which, as we know, caused a number of casualties, the Iranians, in the course of that attack, also managed to destroy a fighter training hangar. And I'm going to show you the satellite image now. You can see in the upper right-hand corner, the building. It has a black arrow drawn across it, the fighter training center hangar, which was destroyed. And then in the upper left-hand corner, you can see the aftermath of the strike. It is essentially demolished, completely useless. And down in the lower half, you get a closer view of the wreckage of that hangar. It also appears to me, looking at the photograph in the lower half, that the hangar to the immediate left of the one that was completely destroyed has suffered serious damage. It looks like the wall that is nearest to the destroyed hangar has been entirely blasted out. And you can see, in the hangar facility to the left of the one that's totally destroyed, that the roof, there's severe damage. And it looks like there's still some fire inside of that other damaged hangar that is yet to be put out. So that looks like a very effective strike. And remember, this is quite some distance from Iran, and the precision with which the Iranian military is striking these military facilities, these essential military facilities of the United States in this region, is really quite impressive. And I think increasingly the Iranians are they're constantly improving their precision and also learning more and more about how to evade the already porous air defense systems and highly depleted air defense systems of the United States. So now I want to turn to the further details that have emerged about the casualties the U.S. has sustained in Jordan. And just for context, I'm going to show you a map published by CENTCOM of U.S. military bases in what they call the Hashemite Kingdom. Again, another fake country that was established for no other purpose than to maintain Western hegemony over this region. And you'll see that there are a number of military bases in Jordan. Irbid as Zarqa. It looks like they have military personnel in Amman. And by the way, when I was in Amman last year, I believe it was, I stayed in a hotel and there were all kinds of soldiers from Western countries there, uniformed soldiers staying in my hotel. There were Belgian soldiers, there were Dutch soldiers, there were Italian soldiers. It was like a potpourri of NATO in Amman. So the huge Western military presence there. And then you can see south of Amman, there's Al-Karak, then Amman. Then they appear to have a military base on the border of Jordan and Saudi Arabia. The Americans call Jabal Adami. And in the strategically important Red Sea port of Al-Aqaba, they have a military presence there as well. Looking at this map, two things strike me. First of all, it looks like the Americans have basically established, the American military, a wall of military bases protecting the eastern flank of the genocidal Israeli entity. Why else would they all be lined up there along the Jordan River, if not to provide additional protection to this satanic regime? And the other thing that strikes me about this map is that it doesn't make any reference to the air base that appears to have been targeted most effectively in these strikes. And that is this air base, the Mufawak Salti Air Base, which lies to the east of Amman. That does not appear on the CENTCOM map. This map that you're now looking at is one that I found from a commercial map provider. It is not a military map. And why the CENTCOM didn't include that in its map of U.S. military facilities in Jordan, I don't know. But you can be sure that the Mufawak Salti Air Base does exist, and it is an important military facility for the United States, not just in Jordan, but in the entire region. And it has been playing, by all indications, a critically important role in this criminal war of aggression on Iran. So let's turn then to what we have learned subsequent to the CENTCOM admission of casualties at this air base. What we've learned, thanks to the New York Times, is that the casualties are likely to be larger. This article, published within the past 24 hours, is titled "Jordan is Becoming a New Focus in the U.S.-Iran War." 4 Iranian attacks in 5 days have targeted U.S. troops in Jordan, U.S. officials said, including one on Friday that killed 2 soldiers and left another service member missing. And the article goes on, this article was published yesterday, to say that the attack that killed 2 U.S. soldiers and left 1 service member missing on Friday was the 4th in 5 days. Taken together, the attacks have wounded dozens of U.S. service members and damaged a number of helicopters. The flurry of attacks and the losses they have caused are a sign that Iranian forces not only still have ample missile stocks, but have also become more adept at evading U.S. air defense systems, said U.S. officials who were speaking on condition of anonymity to discuss operational matters. Jordan, which hosts major U.S. air bases, grew in importance in the run-up to the early days of the war, as the Pentagon shifted a number of troops from Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar to relatively more secure locations in Jordan and Israel. The country's role in U.S. operations has only increased as other American allies in the region have restricted Washington's ability to base troops in and fly aircraft over their territory, as the U.S. officials said. What they are not saying is that the forces have moved further away from Iran and have become increasingly concentrated in Jordan and Israel, because the United States is incapable of protecting its military bases in the Persian Gulf. As you're going to see, we've already provided plenty of evidence of their vulnerability, and you're going to see some more indication of that when I show you various footage of Kuwait and what is being done to that fake country by the Iranian military. In any case, this article goes on and says, in early July, Iran widened its attacks in the region, including Jordan, for the first time since Tehran and Washington signed a ceasefire agreement in June. U.S. officials offered a recounting of the last 5 days, which the Pentagon has not yet discussed in detail publicly. The first attack to hit U.S. forces in Jordan struck a residential facility at King Faisal Air Base, wounding as many as 5 U.S. service members. The second hit a base in eastern Jordan where U.S. Black Hawk helicopters were operating from, damaging a significant number of them. Then, 48 hours ago, Iranian missiles hit Jordan's Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Azraq, which is the same base where the troops were killed on Friday. The earlier strike wounded about 20 U.S. troops rushing to take cover in bunkers. No one was killed in that barrage, but on Friday, when the Iranians struck the base again, 2 U.S. troops were killed and 4 other service members were injured. Other personnel were evaluated for minor injuries and returned to duty. The Pentagon declined to comment. On Friday, the Iranian army said it had launched a drone attack targeting fuel tanks at the U.S. base in Azraq. The IRGC also said it had used missiles and drones to target aircraft shelters at the base, according to Fars news agency. And we've just showed you satellite imagery published by the Iranian military, which appears very much to confirm the destruction of aircraft shelters. So this is, I would imagine, quite alarming to the Americans. Not only are they incapable of, at least if they're thinking rationally, they would be alarmed. Not only are they incapable of protecting their military bases and the key infrastructure of Washington's Gulf vassals in the Persian Gulf, which is much closer to Iran than Jordan, but they can't even protect their military personnel and military assets in Jordan itself, which is, of course, right next to that genocidal pipsqueak, Israel. Now, a couple of other details I want to share with you about the casualties in Jordan. First of all, according to the Wall Street Journal, which reported separately on this, both manned and unmanned aircraft were hit in the attack on this airbase in Jordan. So the New York Times talked only about Black Hawk helicopters. Those are manned aircraft. But apparently there were also unmanned drones that were struck. But we don't have the detail of the extent of damage there. And finally, I want to share with you a summary of a report by some journalist who works for Naval News in the United States. His name is C. Johnston, and he says he reported on X that 2 were killed, 15 of these soldiers had life-threatening severe injuries being airlifted to Germany. That was not disclosed in the CENTCOM statement. 3 to 5 on board that medevac who will probably not make it to Germany alive. That's how severe their injuries are. Dozens of minor injuries and troops who took shrapnel and debris, more traumatic brain injuries than anyone currently knows. And my understanding of that type of injury is that it can take quite some time for the injury to manifest itself. So we may not know, and the U.S. authorities may not know just how many traumatic brain injuries were sustained at that base for some time to come. Before I talk to you about some of the more devastating strikes in the Persian Gulf, the bases that are closer to Iran than the Jordanian bases, I just want to comment on the significance of these casualties. The United States, the military personnel of the United States who are in the region, and there are now, according to public statements by the U.S. military, somewhere in the range of 50,000 soldiers in the region. They must be deeply concerned about the ability of the air defense systems of the United States to protect them if they can't even feel safe in a country as far away from Iran as Jordan is. And as I mentioned, we didn't see any evidence of even attempted interceptions of those two incoming missiles that did so much damage and killed soldiers at that base. The United States military has not been fighting wars in a way that result in significant casualties for quite some time. Its tendency is to bomb, shell targets from a safe distance, and to avoid direct contact with armed enemies on the ground. And therefore, and this is probably a decision that was made in the aftermath of the Vietnam War, when something in the range of 58,000 Americans laid down their lives in that criminal war of aggression. And since then, that obviously was quite a traumatic experience for American society. We saw the evidence of that in the massive Vietnam-era protests. And so the United States military, ever since then, and the political elite of the United States, have conducted wars against countries that cannot defend themselves from aerial attack. And that's been the primary means by which the United States has waged war. So for its soldiers to be on the receiving end of aerial attacks and to be killed and wounded is an unusual experience for U.S. military personnel, to put it mildly. And I can't imagine that this news is going to do anything other than further erode their morale. And bear in mind that they're not only failing to bring Iran to heel, but in addition, they're operating in very challenging circumstances. It is extremely hot in West Asia right now, the type of heat that is life-threatening. So having to conduct any kind of military operation in that environment is already quite a challenge. The Trump regime has not articulated any kind of a persuasive rationale for this criminal war. So as casualties mount, you can expect two things. First, the Trump regime will do everything it can to conceal them. And secondly, the American public will become increasingly irate about this war, which is already opposed by a huge majority of Americans. So let's move on then and talk about what other strikes have taken place within the last 48 hours, Iranian strikes. First, I want to show you a video published by the IRGC of its latest launches of missiles at targets in West Asia. So that's enough of a clip to give you a flavor of the video. But in any case, you'll see there they were not only launching ballistic missiles, they were also launching jet-powered drones. And by the way, you may be wondering, how many of these ballistic missiles do the Iranians currently have? Well, there's a report that during the negotiations in Islamabad, the foreign minister of Iran told the Pakistani mediators that Iran had approximately 15,000 missiles left in its arsenal. I have no way of knowing whether that number is accurate or not, but given that Iran was preparing for this war for decades and relies so heavily on its ballistic missiles to deter attacks on the country, I think that that's a number that is entirely plausible. It may or may not be accurate, but it is indeed plausible. And if that's the case, the United States and Israel and Washington's vassals in the region have only tasted the full destructive power of the Iranian missile forces and drone forces. Now, let's talk then about recent developments in Kuwait. And I'm going to start by showing you a map of this tiny little fake country. You can see that Iran lies very close to the border of Kuwait. There's a little sliver of Iraqi territory that separates Iran from Kuwait. And what you see here in this map are the acknowledged military bases of the United States in Kuwait. It's basically jam-packed with US military facilities. And for some insane reason, the corrupt and brutal autocrats who rule Kuwait are allowing US forces to fire missiles from their territory into Iran. And there was, in fact, a HIMARS missile launcher, at least one, that was destroyed within the last few days by the Iranian military in Kuwait. Now, for some reason, the Kuwaitis, whenever Iran retaliates by striking their military facilities or those of the United States on their territory, they whine. They whine incessantly and even go so far as to invoke international law. And they're invariably backed up by Western governments who whine right along with them. But if they don't want to be attacked by Iran, there's a very simple way to avoid that, and that is to tell the American occupier to get the hell out and preclude it from using Kuwaiti territory or airspace to launch any kind of attacks on the Islamic Republic. But apparently the Kuwaitis are quite happy to make themselves a prime target for Iranian retaliation, at least the Kuwaiti leadership. I doubt that that's true of the Kuwaiti people. Now, Fox News is reporting significant damage to Kuwaiti oil facilities. And here's a clip from a report that it just published. And as you'll see, thick smoke billowed from the facility after officials announced that Kuwait's oil facilities had been hit by repeated Iranian attacks. The Kuwait oil company announced that the attack caused significant damage while Iran is expanding its attacks across the Persian Gulf. And we also have satellite imagery pertaining to this attack on Kuwaiti oil facilities. Here you can see this was published by the Iranian military. Iran struck the KNPC North Pier, which exports crude oil in Kuwait. The facility is on fire, as you can see in the satellite image, and its smoke is visible in that image. So this is going to have, of course, impacts on the price of oil, even if the Strait of Hormuz were to be opened anytime soon, and I'm going to mention developments there in a moment. The capacity of these Gulf autocracies to produce and export oil has been severely degraded over the course of this war, and it's going to take months, if not years, to restore it to pre-war levels. So getting the oil market into an equilibrium, the kind of supplies that were available back before this criminal war of aggression was launched, it's going to involve a lot more than simply opening up the Strait of Hormuz. That in and of itself is something that's not likely to happen anytime soon. Now, resistance channels have published videos of damage as well to U.S. military bases in Kuwait. Here's a video of a strike on what is reported to be a military training center, the aftermath of the strike. You can see there are two holes in the roof. Unclear whether these were missiles or drones. I would imagine because the building wasn't entirely demolished that these were drones and not missiles, but let's look at this again. And here's another video of the immediate aftermath of a strike on a U.S. Military base in Kuwait. Now, the Kuwaiti regime also reports that an electricity and water desalination plant situated in the fake country was struck twice in the past 2 days. This is Tasnim News, the Iranian news agency, summarizing the Kuwaiti Ministry of Electricity's announcement. It stated that an electricity generation and water desalination plant was attacked and caught fire for the second time in the last 2 days. The ministry emphasized that a large number of production units of this power plant were affected and were taken out of operation. So this, I would imagine, is a warning, not just to Kuwait, but to all of the Gulf autocracies who rely so extensively on water desalination that there will be a price for them to be paid if these attacks on the Iranian infrastructure and its own desalination plants continue. Now, as I commented yesterday on X, the Gulf autocracies are far more vulnerable than Iran would be if there is a wholesale campaign of destruction directed at water desalination facilities in the region. And the reason is as follows. As I noted on X, the percentage of drinking water from desalination in Bahrain, 100%. In Qatar, 99%. In Kuwait, 90%. Oman, 86%. Saudi Arabia, 70%. And the UAE, 42%. In Iran, it's 3%. And if you've been to the country and traveled across it as I have, you would understand why. The Iranians have a lot more water available, naturally occurring and available water than any of the Gulf autocracies. There are no permanent rivers in the Gulf, in the Gulf autocracies, none whatsoever. There are at most a few intermittent rivers, and therefore they are enormously reliant on desalination. And it's no exaggeration to say that if Iran decides to destroy their major water desalination plants, that these countries are going to become largely uninhabitable. That will not happen to Iran, even if all of its water desalination plants are destroyed. Now, I also want to talk to you about another prime target of the Iranian military before closing up my report. These are the Kurdish separatist allies of Washington in northern Iraq. Here is a video reportedly of a strike on the headquarters of Kurdish separatist groups in Erbil. And here's a video of another, the aftermath of another strike on Kurdish separatist facilities in northern Iraq. Actually, that's not the aftermath. That's the strike itself. As you can see, an Iranian suicide drone coming down. There's no indication in this video, again, of any attempt to take that drone down, even though you could hear it coming in. It's not like it swept in there stealthily. Where are the attempts to intercept this incoming suicide drone? Let's watch it again. So I want to just comment here that the Trump regime has put a target on the back of the Kurdish separatists in Iraq because it openly mused about using them to conduct a ground invasion into Iran. So naturally, when these genocidal child murdering maniacs in Washington are telling you that they're going to use Kurdish separatists in Iraq as a proxy army, the Iranians are going to attack those people, those Kurdish separatists, in order to prevent any kind of an invasion into Iran, or at least make it much more difficult for them to carry it out. But Trump doesn't care about the Kurds. He never cared about the Kurds, nor do the Israelis. They cynically use them, and for some reason, there is an element within the Kurdish population in the region, sadly, that allows itself to be exploited and used as cannon fodder again and again by the United States and Israel. Hopefully, this war will bring an end to that tendency. And of course, I'm not talking here about all Kurdish persons, of course, but there's a significant number of them who have until now been quite happy to ally themselves with Washington and Israel in their criminal projects throughout the region. And finally, I want to comment on some other important news relating to the war on Iran. And that is, first of all, that yet again, some complicit vessels sought to transit through the Strait of Hormuz without the consent of the Iranian military. And here is a statement put out by the Iranian military describing what happened. They say, the IRGC, that 2 offending ships had an accident. I think that's tongue-in-cheek, the term accident, on the unsafe route of the Strait of Hormuz, and 2 other ships were discouraged from continuing on the unsafe route. Hours ago, 4 offending ships, with the mischief and support of American terrorists and by turning off the navigation systems and ignoring the warnings of the IRGC's Strait of Hormuz control base, intended to disrupt and exit the Strait of Hormuz from the untrustworthy route. 2 of them had an accident, stopped in place, and the other 2 refused to continue on their way. IRGC Navy declares that the control of the Strait of Hormuz is under the full control of this force, and the only safe passage is the specified and declared route. And as stated before, a drop of oil, gas, and chemical fertilizer will not pass through the Strait of Hormuz without coordination and permission. And of course, the Iranian military has declared the Strait of Hormuz closed, although I imagine that some friendly vessels and Iranian vessels can get through, a smattering of them, with the consent of the Iranian military. Another interesting piece of news is that the Iranian military has reportedly targeted artificial intelligence centers in the region. And this would be the Batelco and Bahrain Artificial Intelligence Center. The IRGC stated that recent operations in Bahrain indicate a change in targeting from traditional military bases to data processing artificial intelligence centers. The attack on the main artificial intelligence center, Shapada Depot, and Batelco data centers showed that the technological infrastructure is the main pillar of the American surveillance networks in the Persian Gulf, and damage to these centers actually disrupts the decision-making power of the enemy's autonomous military machines and equipment. The importance of these centers lies in their ability to process big data collected from mobile sensors and satellites. Artificial intelligence algorithms based on these sites are responsible for real-time analysis of images and radars to identify and track targets. Therefore, with the destruction of these data centers, the enemy's sensor-to-fire integrated network suffers from technical and operational defects, and its environmental awareness ability is greatly reduced. Another significant development is that Iran took down within the past 24 hours yet one more MQ-9 Reaper drone, each of which costs, I think, in the range of about $32 million. And here is a video published by the Iranian military of the destruction of one of these drones. You can see there, you can see there at the very end of that video clip some of the wreckage. There's another separate video of the wreckage, much more detailed.
قيادة
So that video was published by the Iranian news agency Tasnim. So I think this is the third MQ-9 Reaper drone that Iran has taken down this week, according to the reports that I've seen. 2 other significant tidbits of information. It looks like Iran today fired missiles at Aqaba, the Red Sea port of Jordan. I believe it's the first time it has done that in this war. And here is a report from the ever informative DD Geopolitics on X, showing a photograph of smoke rising from the King Hussein International Airport in Aqaba following Iranian strikes. I would imagine that there are U.S. military aircraft at that at that airport. Aqaba is Jordan's only maritime outlet and one of the country's most strategically important logistics hubs. And finally, with all of this going on, you will not be surprised to learn that the embassy of the United States in Lebanon issued 2 days ago a rather dire warning to American citizens. And this is what they said. Due to high tensions in the Middle East, that's putting it charitably. I think the more accurate formulation would be, due to Trump's criminality in West Asia, the security environment remains complex with the potential for unforeseen escalation. We remind Americans in the region of the continued need for caution and encourage them to monitor the news for breaking developments. Americans traveling in or through the region should also check with their air carriers to make sure their flights are still scheduled. Americans should not travel to Lebanon and reconsider travel to or through the Middle East. So even connecting flights in the Middle East, this is something which the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon is urging American citizens to reconsider. So the situation is, of course, a very dangerous one. The war appears to be escalating. There is no end in sight to the current round of hostility, and therefore we are edging ever closer to a global economic crisis. And the last thing I'll say is, given again how often the United States government has proven that it had no intention of respecting an agreement that it signed, it is going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get the Iranians back to the negotiating table anytime soon. And perhaps they'll never go back to the negotiating table, not as long as Donald Trump is their American interlocutor. In any case, please stay safe out there. Today is the final of the World Cup. I'm going to bite the bullet, although I've largely boycotted this World Cup. I am going to watch it on television only because I would very much like to see Argentina get thrashed. Nothing personal to people in Argentina, nothing personal to the players on Argentina, but Lamine Yamal did raise this is the star player for the Spanish national team, 19-year-old Lamine Yamal did raise the Palestinian flag and wave it enthusiastically the day that his club team, Barcelona, celebrated their victory in the Spanish La Liga division. And not only that, but of all the countries in Europe, the Spanish government has been by far the more supportive of the Palestinian cause. And, the far-right regime in Argentina of Javier Milei could not conceivably be more pro-Israel. I mean, the level of sycophancy shown by this man towards Zionists, Javier Milei, is really mind-boggling, even by the standards of Western governments. So for those reasons, purely political reasons, I'm going to be cheering for Spain today. In any case, let's hope it's a good match and that the better team wins. For now, I'm signing off from Montreal, Canada on July 19th, 2026.